Hi guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we've got a special video and a special guest as we show you the latest wedge from Titleist. If you like our videos, please hit that subscribe button and tell all your golfing friends. So here we have Matt, our Titleist fitting specialist. Well, you're just a general fitting specialist, but the little nuance for Matt is that he used to work for Titleist. You've met Bob Vokey himself, yep. And we've now just been handed the SM10 wedge. So who better to give us an insight into what's different from SM9, and then you can let me hit some and we can chat about the grinds, etc. So what have we got, Matt?
So what we've got here is the three finishes. So Tour Chrome, everyone's favourite, the one that fits into the irons most similar in terms of look for visual. You then have the Jet Black, which is continued over, that stealth look that not everyone loves, but when people go into it, they don't seem to leave. And then the newest one, which is called Nickel. So slightly different finish from Brush Steel from last year, a little bit darker finish, not quite as shiny. For me personally, that's what I've ordered. I like the slightly duller look. I think this one's going to be a real winner this year. I
think you're right. I think that is a nickel they used to do back in the day.
Yeah,
SM4 or 5.
Yeah,
so it's showing my age there a little bit. I know you all thought I was older, so that's fine. But yeah, nickel was a real popular choice back in the day. So what have they changed between SM9 to SM10, apart from the number?
Well, yeah, Titleist love a number and a letter, as we know. But basically with SM10, the main focus again was advancing the progressive centre of gravity story that they've used now since SM5 that we mentioned a second ago. So with the higher lofted wedges, 58-60s, they're moving the weight higher again, but more forward. And you'll see from watching all the guys on tour, when they're playing that flighted shot into the green with loads of spin, it's not actually going particularly high. It's a flat flight, full of control, full of spin. So when it bounces a couple of times, it stops dead. That's what they're trying to avoid on these, is the lofted wedges actually going too high with not enough spin.
So it's really this story of kind of the almost same story, like you say, yep. But it's the kind of progressive in the technologies just to keep moving it and pushing the boundaries.
They're not reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
They're just trying to take what they're already very good at. We know SM wedges have always been the wedge that tour players trust the most, amateurs trust the most. Yeah. So they're just trying to take it that little bit further, making it that little bit sharper for the golfers.
Okay, so loft options the same?
Yeah, so there's I believe 25 options, can't quite remember off the top of my head. But yeah, loft starts at 46, which would be a T100 pitching wedge replacement, all the way through to 62.
And grinds, same?
Yeah, same grinds. There is a slight tweak to the grinds. So 5408M has come back. Okay. It was removed in SM9, that's come back.
And the beauty of M?
So you can manipulate it. It's a low bounce option. So beforehand they had 54 in an 8. They got rid of it. Okay. So for people that were quite shallow through the ball, they probably did miss it, hence why they've brought it back. And then L grind has completely gone. Gone completely.
Do we know why?
They've replaced it with T, which has had huge success on tour. Very, very small sole, lots of heel toe relief. So if you want to play flop shots literally off carpet, or thick
we won't
rough,
try that.
No, probably not today. You're able to manipulate that head load. So really popular on tour, a little less so at the amateur market, but very similar to L, but because a lot more players on tour are using it, seems to be the reason they've gone down that route. Okay, well look, I'm gonna jump in the bay. Yep.
Let me hit a couple with this nickel. Now, as I'm hitting it, let's talk about the fitting of Vokeys, because obviously you're an expert at it. You do a lot of Vokey fits.
Yep.
As I'm clipping these away, how can we fit Vokeys better, or what have they done there? Obviously you were holding some shafts there a minute ago. So tell me about that.
So first thing we always start with wedge fitting is the gapping element. So with a 2-degree increment per wedge, you're able to find the right loft for each person so that their gaps in their bag stay consistent throughout. Okay. So typically 4 to 6 degrees, normally 4 is what you'd find to create the right sort of balance in the bag. Mm-hmm. Then you have all the different grinds, and the grinds are basically what enable you to strike the golf ball, getting the club head underneath the ball, giving it lift and forward momentum without hopefully fatting or thinning it. That's why there's so many different options, because the way that you play it might be very different to me, might be very different to Chris behind the camera. Yes. So that's why there's so many different options. The final aspect really then is very similar to an iron fit, is your length and lie options and shaft options. So the shafts that I had here are 2 that they've introduced this year. So you've got Dynamic Gold 105 wedge, slightly lighter than the standard S200 wedge flex. Yep. And then a KBS light, which they've also introduced to their Iron range last year, again, a lighter weight, semi-counterbalance option. So if you play this shaft in your irons, there's a good chance it probably works quite well in your wedge.
And why would someone want to change their shaft in the wedge? Because for years and years and years, wedge flex was the thing. It was tough, you're having wedge flex. Or you would just marry it up with your iron set, and you just kind of never got to test it. You just went, yeah, I'll have Project X or whatever it may be. Why would someone think about lightening up or making the shaft heavier or lighter in a wedge?
So it's partly going to be to do with feel, to create, you know, a good strike for the golfer.
Yep.
If you're finding S200 hard work and you can't quite get the club head working under the golf ball, chances are if you make it lighter, you're able to feel more of the head, get it sliding underneath, creating a better contact and more consistency.
So it's more to do with the ability to strike the ball well and that feel element as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So I mean, I think you've made the right choice, Matt. I think this nickel is looking absolutely stunning. I mean, that was the thin one. You've put that in my mind now. Like, you've talked thin and fat, and I've just hit two that are horrendous. But as a look, it's really, really tidy. So what do you think that that spin is insane.
That was tasty.
Oh wow! Do you see that? I'm going to hit another
back off the mat.
What do you think the view of the customer, the view of the player is going to be? Do you think everyone's going to be jumping from SM9 to S10, or do we think that we might see the guy that's in SM9 not really bother, and the guy that was in SM8 maybe?
I think definitely an element of both. So for your Titleist fan, we get them all the time. There's a new Titleist product out, they're going to come in, they're going to try it, they're going to want it, they're going to buy it. For people that need to change their wedges, who maybe have had them for 4 or 5 seasons where the grooves are starting to wear down, Vokey's still going to be the main pull, because they've heard of it, they know their friends have them, they know tour players have them. And because there are so many options, it makes my life easier.
Yeah.
So you give someone a few wedges, this is nice, I like that. Then you work through the lofts and you find different bounce or different grind works for them. And sometimes you just don't have that option with other brands.
Okay,
so
it's that level of choice.
It's just the amount of options you have. So this wedge here, if I get it right, this wedge here is actually adjustable. So in the 56 degrees, we've got 4 heads with the different grinds. We can change the shafts that we mentioned also a second ago, but you can change the lie angle on this.
Chris.
So in that current setting of A2, that's actually 2 degrees upright.
And that's exactly the way they work with their iron fitting system.
Yeah, so it's the same as the same cog system as the hybrid. So it's 1 degree increments, and you can go an extra. There's an extra cog on there to go another degree flatter. So it can go 2 upright, 2 flat, plus 2 degrees of loft. You can only go down 1 loft.
So you can really dial it. So the point is you can dial it in, right?
So if you were using KBS Tour Stiff, which is in a 2 degree upright iron head, that's now KBS Tour in a 2 degree up wedge head.
Yeah, I mean, what a great service to be able to offer, isn't it?
Yeah, and we've got 10 or so shafts that are not the stock option. Project X, Dynamic Gold, KBS.
So we've got loads to play with, which is great. So guys, I hope that was insightful. I mean, from my perspective, just looking at the SM10 even, it looks neat. Yeah. I think on the rack, this is going to look really nice.
Classic.
They had that 2-year cycle, don't they, Titleist? So unfortunately, and I don't mean this in a bad way, is that sometimes on the rack it looks a bit tired because it's had 18 months and you're kind of like, when's the new one coming? I think this will sharpen it up. I think nickel is going to be a big winner. I think you're going to get a lot of guys that are on the edge of going out of chrome, don't want to go to black, but are going to sit in this. So I hope our friends at Titleist have got that fully stocked up in the warehouse, because I don't really want to be chasing you for orders in a few months' time. But overall, with the amount of options, the fitting options that we've got, this is going to probably be one of the biggest winners for 2024.
I'd be surprised if it isn't.
Okay, guys, it's time to give it the AF Golf Store score. Okay, so it's time for the AF Golf Store score. So let's start with our wonderful feel. Feels like a Titleist, feels solid off the face. I think what Matt was talking about in terms of the weight, I've hit a few. I only hit in this video the 56 in the nickel, but I've hit a few with the stronger lofts as well. You can definitely get a sense that what they've done feels solid. It feels like a Titleist, it clicks off the face. The more lofted, didn't feel like it was just going to pop up in the air and go nowhere. It was really, really, really good. So 9 out of 10. I'm going straight in, 9 out of 10. In terms of look, Well, again, there's something for everyone. That extra little cheeky head of the nickel, I think, is absolutely superb. Overall, I think on the shelf, this is going to look beautiful. I think it's going to really take some people by a little bit of surprise of how good and almost how modern it looks as a wedge. So I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 as well. On to price, on to our friends at Price. So Price, getting ready, getting nervous, because normally when Titleist bring out a new wedge, they like to bump the price massively up, but they haven't. It's £10 more expensive than where Vokey SM10 started. It's going to retail around £169, so a really, really good price point for this type of wedge. In that case, I'm going to give it, they have put it up, so I can't give them a high mark. I'm going to give them a 7 out of 10. In terms of custom fit options, well, Matt spoke earlier about the amount of head options and shaft combinations and the additional shafts we've got in the fitting pack now and the fitting heads and all this extra good stuff that Vokey are doing. You've also got the grinds, you've also got the bounces, you've also got the colour heads. I mean, there are more options than you probably need, but from a fitter's perspective, it works absolutely beautifully. So I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. On to overall performance. Well, I am a Vokey fan. I do use SM9s, full disclosure. I have used them for 12 months or so now, 18 months maybe. They are my preferred wedge of choice. So I've got to be a little, full disclosure there. I don't want you to think I'm overly biased, but this wedge is really, really good. I think I would be tempted with nickel. I'd probably go along with Matt on this one and say, nickel's probably the best for that. Black's not for me. The black head is not the one for me, but the nickel definitely is a wedge that is just looking absolutely beautiful. So I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. That gives it an overall score of 43 out of 50. Guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed that video. SM10 is certainly going to be a wedge to watch, but along with some real key competitors this year, we've got the Ping, we've got the MG4. There's going to be some competition in the wedge market, but I think SM10 could be up at the top again. Remember, if you like our videos, please hit that subscribe button and tell all our golfing friends.